Okay, hello, hello, hello. I think we are live. I'm just going to text. We're live.
I thought you were going to say something else.
I was going to
like,
text
who you
my
texted?
boyfriend.
Exactly.
Yeah, he wanted to know when we're going live. What is going on? You are watching and, of course, listening to Tags Live, aka Talk About Gay Sex, the live edition, where we're here every Wednesday night on the Crowdcast platform. I'm your host, Steve V, alongside Kodi, Maurice, Doggette. How the hell you doing, Kodi?
Hello, darling. I'm doing wonderful. So happy that you're back in New York City, boo.
I'm back in New York City. Yes, I had a great trip. I talked about it a little bit extensively on episode 604, but to say the least, so much fun in Amsterdam and Vienna. So great. I mean, it was like the beginning of fall, and I describe it as food, wine, and art in that order. It was
Love it.
truly, yeah.
Love
And
all those things.
I think I mentioned it, but ran into some friends, didn't know they were going to be in Vienna, but it's always cool to run into friends in
Oh, yeah.
another country. Super cool. Yes, I loved it. So happy to be back. And a little bit later in this show, we're really excited because the creator, director of Strangelove, about 4 queer Latino friends, is Jorge Xolalpa. It will be joining us along with his husband, Alexis, and we're excited for that. But first, we have to, so many things we got to get into, including some messages from listeners. And we love it when you write back to us. And the first one comes from the UK, from Chris, saying, loving your podcast makes my work commute a lot of fun. You guys have a great sense of humor, and I thought you'd get a kick from a new UK dating reality TV show where everyone is stark bollock naked. His words. The only improvement would be an all guys series, but there's still some cute eye candy, and it's called Dating Naked UK on Paramount. He said he would send us a clip, which is really nice. And
Perfect.
yes, he said also a podcast called Hell, I Sexted My Boss. If you can find the Clone a Willie episode, I think you'd have a good laugh. Oh, I love that. Thank you so much, Chris from the UK. He said, keep up the great work.
Recommendations.
Thanks. Thank you for an awesome podcast. Cheerio from now, Chris. I love that. So cool. Coming from YouTube at Rio567, was a little bit more contentious and said, I just Googled Kamala's birth certificate. It's easily accessible online. Mother's race is Caucasian, father's race Jamaican. Neither of her parents are, he said, are black. Jamaica, ironically, the place of my birth, is 90% black by race. Being Jamaican doesn't automatically make you black. She is Asian, and it's personally insulting to see her parade, specifically when it benefits her. From my personal experience, Indians and anyone else non-black with darker skin are so offended if assumed or called black, like it's the worst thing on earth. That's extra though, correct, Kodi?
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's too much.
Yeah. He says, I love your podcast, but you worship Kamala like she's any different than her white male colleagues. I don't think we worship her at all. We just
only worship Jesus. Okay, that's
it. We'll deal with that in a second. The media points her to be this nice, happy person. We don't know the woman. It's an image well marked. She is Biden's token, and that's why we nominated her. What we do know is she was vice president for 4 years, and with a sad administration. She's a woman of color, but not capital N-O-T black. Janet Jackson is a black woman, and she has every right to speak the truth. She owes nobody any apology. If Kamala wasn't a token and someone approached her on the street, I wonder how black she would be then, ? Wow, at Rio567. Well, first of all, thanks for loving our podcast. And
yes.
But I will push back and say I don't think we worship Kamala Harris. And, somebody said something today on a TV show I was watching that said, given that you don't have to like everything about every candidate. First of all, vote, because it's imperative and you need to vote. It's your critical duty as a citizen, and you have the privilege of voting. And we encourage everybody to vote for whom they find, there's only two candidates. And the thing about it being, we don't worship her at all. She just happens to, I don't think everything that she stands for aligns with my beliefs, but a majority of it do versus the other side. And I actually pointed out in several episodes that one of the things I benefit from is Obamacare. And they've already stated, Trump and his upcoming regime, if you will, has stated that they will take away the Affordable Care Act. That would directly affect me. So that's a policy that would actually affect me and my health care that I get. And there's a whole list of other things that we don't worship her at all. And I don't think she has everything. I'm from San Francisco originally, and so is she. And I've done my research on Kamala Harris, and I don't think she's perfect. There was a time I remember where she was running for president before, and I knew too much about the politics of San Francisco to know that she wasn't like this perfect person. I've never said she's perfect. And so I just think given the two, she's better. And somebody said today, you're voting for the general good of our country. And she stands for what we think, at least on our show, and our community. And that's why we vote for her. I think a lot of what he said is a little extra. And I think Janet Jackson, I love her. And if you listen to this show, I am like a super fan. Just thought she spoke unnecessarily and should have never said that. And she said, I heard that. And it was very like off the cuff. And you know how much I love Janet Jackson. For me to one of my best friends was like in Europe, who was also in Europe, what is your girl saying? And I was like, I'm not addressing this right now. I'm not her PR team.
Right. And you haven't spoken about it because when the news dropped, you were in Europe and you weren't on that live show with us. So this is your first time for everybody to hear your opinions on the matter. So regarding this Rio person writing in, I have to say that you addressed us worshiping Kamala Harris, and I am totally aligned with you on that. I'm going to speak from personal experience as it comes to someone questioning your Blackness. That has happened to me on several occasions. People have questioned my Latin roots. They've questioned my Blackness. And I want to say that personally, no one can take away my Blackness. No one can take away my Puerto Rican heritage. And I sit in complete honesty with myself and security with myself as far as both of those cultures are concerned. So if it's happened to me, I know it's happened to many, many other people. That's just, I feel like it's part and parcel with being a mixed person. So I want to stand
here. Thank you so
here
much for saying that, because people always come for when you're of mixed heritage. It's like, and it's often our community that's the first, people of color by our community, that are the first ones to question it. It's because, sorry, but one of my parents happens to be of this race.
Ethnicity.
And I know it may threaten you, but get over it, because you're Black as you are as much Puerto Rican, and no one can dispute that. Also, get over yourself. Stop telling everybody who they are and you defining them and saying you're not this. They did that to Obama. And
yes, they did.
What kills me is when it's a person of color questioning somebody else's race and heritage. It's just like,
you don't get to discount someone's Blackness. She went to an HBCU. She did all the things to prove that she's a Black person. And I'm going to reiterate that I think that she did all of those things just to prove to herself and maybe a little bit to other people that she was living in her Blackness. But that's neither here nor there. We'll discuss that with her therapist when the time comes. And that's a lot.
Yeah,
This comment was a lot.
It was, but you know what? We love hearing from you, and this is what this is all about. So keep writing into us, even if you disagree with us. We may even bring you up on the show at some point,
Oh,
and you
spicy. We
can,
getting
hey,
spicy.
we can have a discourse. We are not beyond that. Of course we can, and we welcome that. So you can always reach us at TAGSPodcast.com. Of course, you can comment. We'll give our handles at the end of the show, and you can reach out to us via that. Okay, moving on to let's see, what did I want to talk about? Because we have so many things. You know, we have to talk about. We've talked a lot about Monsters and the Menendez Brothers that's on Netflix, and Ryan Murphy, and all the backlash, pseudo backlash that we've heard that he's over sexualized the brothers, made it very homoerotic, and did they really have a sexual relationship has been the question. And a lot of people have been pointing the finger over at Ryan Murphy saying this is just another way that you are drawing in viewers, making them, and they've denied that they had a sexual relationship. But the show is doing really well. And our co-host Jeremy Ross Lopez watched it. I'm currently watching it. I see the homoerotica in it. And, you know, Kodi, he stated that Ryan Murphy got this information from a major writer that was covering this case at the time, that was spending a lot of time with them. And he insinuated that. And Ryan took that information and flourished it. This is not an actual account of exactly how it happened, but it's a telling of their story. And recently, this was his response. I kind of like his response, but he said, the Lyle and Eric Menendez story, the best thing that has happened to the Menendez brothers in 30 years. They are now being talked about by millions of people all over the world. There's a documentary coming out in 2 weeks about them, also on Netflix. And I think the interesting thing about it is it's asking people to answer the questions. Quote, should they get a new trial? Should they be let out of jail? What happens in our society? Should people be locked away for life? Is there no chance ever for rehabilitation? He said he's interested in that, and a lot of people are talking about it. And instead of like critiquing this portrayal of them, they should be really thanking them, because they could actually be up for a retrial. I've been hearing mumblings about that, and it could be actually a good thing. He says, we're asking really difficult questions, and it's giving these brothers another trial in the court of public opinion. From what I can tell, it's really opened up the possibility that this evidence that they claim that they have, maybe that there is going to be a way forward for them. When you hear this on what Ryan's saying, what do you think, Kodi?
Oh yeah, I think he's right about everything but Kim Kardashian, because he mentions Kim Kardashian
Yeah,
and
I omitted that part on our little short time here.
Because when I was watching the show, that's all I could think about, honestly. I could only empathize with them and see their perspective, and how, if I were in that position, how I would react, and would I want to go to these great lengths that they went to in order to escape that situation. So I can definitely see that, and I think that people should take that into account, and hopefully they do get a retrial, so that they can see a more compassionate day in court, because we've learned so many things in the years since they were already tried. So I think this is a great thing. I think that, you know, people are still getting incarcerated for killing their abusers. Just look at the case with Crystal Kaiser from Minnesota. And I think that we should all lead with compassion and take a good look about at these cases, and see if it's really worth them living their entire lives in jail for them to kill their abuser, someone that really did them harm. So, and I think the series is really highlighting that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they murdered their parents, and while they were abused, I think we shouldn't overlook the fact that they murdered them in cold blood.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, maybe it is worth looking at it again. And, you know, we certainly did that with the OJ trial, and that's been regurgitated over years and years. And there's different interpretations. I mean, Ryan Murphy's really good at pop culture and showing things from the 70s and 80s and giving a new, fresh perspective on it. We should really remember that we should take a lot of it with a grain of salt. It's fictionalized, but if it's drawing up new dialogue that could be potentially looked at, I think, hey, why not, right? I mean, but at the end of the day, they murdered their parents. And rule number one is don't murder anybody. You just yeah, that's rule number one in life. Don't kill anybody. Don't steal. I mean, they're just like the basics. And they did one of the most calculated things ever. So I don't know, but I'm glad that I still like Ryan Murphy. I think he has a way of looking at pop culture, and I usually like watching most of his things. Not everything, but interestingly enough, he was all about Glee, and I was never into that. But
I used to love Glee.
Oh, not me. But well, we are live, and Malibu says, do you understand the evidence of what their actions were before, during, and after they murdered both parents? If these were two overweight Hispanic brothers, they'd never be thought of again. It's kind of outrageous how we have this obsession with better looking murderers. Don't hate me for saying this. Their defense attorney came up with this nonsense of being abused. And Bryce, also watching us live, says, breach. Yeah, I mean, I don't know enough about the case to know who's right, who's wrong. And now maybe there's too many cooks in the kitchen trying to tell their story that who's ever going to really know the truth but them. And they're certainly seemingly not going to paint themselves in a wrong manner. So I don't know what the answer is, but I'm finishing up watching it. And yeah, it's kind of crazy, right?
At a certain point, I had to just shut it off a little bit and take a break from it because it was a lot emotionally. And you know me, I'm very sensitive.
I want to watch it. I tried to watch it on the plane last night, but
did you?
Because of all the homoerotica and all, you can't be watching that on the plane with one of the guys this black guy was coming on to one of the Menendez brothers.
Oh, it was hot. I was like,
and
that man was fine.
Plane. I had to like cover. Oh no, I can't watch this. I mean, there's like children. I mean, it was just a mess. I'm just like, I'll watch this when I watch my porn a little bit later on tonight, alone.
Not the porn, honey.
I mean, it's practically a porn. Anyways, we have one more topic to get to really quickly, and it's something that I'm wondering if you would do, Kodi, because there's this new thing that gays are sharing online from Twink to Twunk, the transformation. And it's basically the term Twink death started online on Twitter with a picture of a guy posting his former self when he was more of a twink and his new self where he's more of a twunk, which is hairy and bigger. And there's been jokes about twink death, quote unquote twink death, when one young man aged out of being considered a twink and started bulking up and evolved into a twunk instead. And before and after pictures have been rating X, Twitter. Some people were jokingly mourning the loss of a twink when he became a twunk. And I haven't done this, and I usually don't like those comparisons that much because I feel like people are going to look at you like, oh, you used to look like this. I recently did it without knowing this trend, Kodi. I did it. I came up with an old cover from San Francisco, Odyssey magazine, that of course doesn't exist anymore. And I had posed, I think the age was around 23 to 24 or so. And I have like overalls, my armpits up, my hair's like floppy, and I look really young. And I posted, and everyone was like, oh my God, it was so twink, right? And then, it was fun seeing everybody like react to it. So I guess I kind of did do that, but I don't look like that anymore. And I really have embraced in the last, in my 50s, who I am now. It took a minute, but I really embrace my age and who I am now. Have you embraced this twink to twunk? And I think I know the answer.
I'm still a twink, honey. I don't know what information you got. No.
I think it's very. We got to bring on our special guest.
I think it's very important to embrace your growing older and making sure that you are accepting of yourself. And twink death is definitely necessary in order for you. So much changes from the time you become a twink until you become a grown hunky man, and mainly muscles and your mindset and what you're trying to do out there in the world. So I think twink def is definitely necessary.
Let's unmute their mic. Would you like to unmute their, yes? And can you bring them to the stage? I unmuted their mic.
I can't bring them. So
how do I do it?
Can you do it? If you just click on them, then you can, it'll say the arrow down and
move them to the main stage. Yes.
Yes.
And I unmuted their mic. I can't believe I'm doing it.
Okay, you did it. Yay.
Hello, I did it. Hello, hello, hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Well, we are so excited. Let me introduce you really quickly. We are so excited to welcome on the right, we've got Jorge, say it for me, Xolalpa. Did I say it right? Xolalpa.
Yes.
Xolalpa, right? To the show, the creator of the brand new series. I watched it on YouTube, all 6 episodes of Strangelove, about 4 queer Latino characters. So good. Sitting next to him on the left is his husband, Alexis Vasquez. Welcome to Tags Live.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Well, we only have Alexis for a minute here because he's got to run, and we will just get to it for the most part. Just really quickly, the show debuted in Hispanic Heritage Month, which is so cool. It is about, like I said, 4 queer Latino actors living in DTLA, downtown LA area. And if you love shows like Sex and the City, Looking, this is about 4 queer Latino characters. You two are married, which I didn't know, but I found out. Real quick, Alexis, you got the character of Christian, but originally it was supposed to go to your husband, writer-director. How did this all come about?
I'll let you.
No, he's asking you.
Well, what I got, there was supposed to be an entire other cast. Unfortunately, there was an incident where one of the cast members passed away. He was supposed to play David.
No, Ian.
Which was going to be his love interest. So that took and set Jorge back. And then when he presented the role of Christian, I felt like it was fitting for me and my persona as well as the other 3 main characters. And we did a table read, and the chemistry was correct, and we went about it.
Well, and I want to follow up, and then I want Kodi to ask a question. But what's it like being married, working together, and doing? Your character is the one that is always with a new twink, a new hottie, and having sex on camera. What's it like doing those scenes and being directed by your husband?
It's honestly pretty cool. Getting to watch my husband and getting to see my husband and his energy and behind the camera and directing, it's an automatic turn on for me. The rest is just work. We know how to separate the husband from the director, the actor from the husband, and live cohesively and on set, and talk about it later at home as husbands. So it's been a pretty awesome experience. Because working with your spouse could be really good, really bad.
Yeah.
And we're both fire signs, so it's we like clash heads, but we get the understanding of wherever the energy's coming from, and we clear it out and keep work going.
Cool, love that. And speaking of your character, how much of you is actually invested in, or how much of you is actually a part of your character? Would you say? What do you think?
I'd say honestly about 75% of me is in Christian. When Jorge presented Christian to me, he's like the more masculine one in the group, which naturally I am. The promiscuous one, which now I'm married, but we all have a history, so it was easy to tap into that. And having so many gay friends, I've always not troubled because it's not in my natural habitat to tap into my queerness. So I think with Christian and having other three, like we had the femme who plays by Rami. It was fun to try to tap into that queerness, and still as I get older, I am like, what's my definition of queer? Because when people look at me, they don't see queer. So just tapping into that and just peeling the layers of the queerness through my character, and still trying to be my authentic self.
Yes.
Perfect.
Love it.
And I think we have time for one more before I know you got to run. But you've got Puerto Rico on your T-shirt. We're also an audio podcast, so we just mentioned that, but people can watch this too tomorrow. But I hear you're from New York originally. What's it like living in downtown or LA area and bringing a more Puerto Rico vibe to traditionally probably more Mexicanos?
It's great. I stand out.
You did.
The loudness, the laugh, the obnoxious that comes with Puerto Ricans. I'd wear this with a bandana and still be like, "Hey, I'm from Puerto Rico." It's like, girl, we know. But it's just
We figured it out.
something authentic and still staying true to my East Coast. New York will always have my heart. I've been in LA for 6 years, and I feel like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, but still keeping my ancestors and everything I stand for alive.
Love that.
Love it. Well,
Love
Cody's
that.
Puerto Rican. I'm Mexican. I lived in LA. I live here. So we are all representing.
Yes, work, preach, right before we came on.
Yes, we are representing tonight on the stage. You probably have to go. So should we say goodbye to you now, or?
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It's a blessing.
Thank you, Alexis.
It's such an amazing podcast. I stand for everything you guys stand for.
Aw.
Yeah, and everybody go follow up Strangelove and tell me what you think about Christian.
Absolutely. Thank you, Christian.
Thank you, Alexis. So funny. Oh,
Any closer now?
Exactly. Oh my gosh.
Beautiful.
Okay. I love it. And when I found that out, that your husband and that you were going to play Christian at one point, but you actually play Andrew, and Andrew is a straight character. And I couldn't help but think, we always ask gay actors or straight actors, what's it like to play gay? What's it like to play straight? And your character suffers from PTSD from being in the army.
Yeah, so it's interesting because when I wrote the entire series, I knew I wanted to play Christian because I'm nothing like Christian, and I wanted to challenge myself. And also for the last 9 years, I've been wanting to act. The reason why I got into filmmaking is because I wanted to be an actor, and I've never given myself a chance. So after our friend passed away, not only did I change roles, but the entire cast was replaced with new people because it just didn't feel right. We were all friends, and it just didn't feel right. And as a matter of fact, we had someone who was going to be playing Andrew, who didn't work out, and I had to step in a day before. It was more of a my co-showrunner looked at me and she said, "Well, look, like if you don't do it now, you're never gonna do it." And she goes, "And we have to shoot this like this week. If we don't do it now, we either write off Andrew or you can do it." So from a surface perspective, it is weird because I am very gay. I am very, very gay. You can definitely see the queerness in me. We're completely opposite. And
you did such a good job on playing Andrew, though. I mean,
well, I'm very method. That's the thing, and I'm not like the crazy. Like I'm not gonna go like say, "Ooh, I wore the character all day." No. No. But I did. I did have a moment because when I wrote this, I don't know if you read, but all of the characters are based on my experiences that I've lived. So each of the 4 main characters have something of me, and Andrew was particularly special because I do property management and I work with a maintenance technician that had this issue. So I lived it through. I some of the conversations that I wrote between Andrew and Christian are literally between conversations that I've had with this person who's still my friend, and I would see him sometimes just kind of like spaced out, and I understood that it wasn't that he was not he just wasn't computing things properly because he would have these flashbacks at noon during lunch. So I think that's the reason why I also stepped into this a day before after we had to replace the actor, because I absolutely knew who this character was from working with him for 3 years. And when I talk about method, I mean like I got to set a little early and I put some paint on me and I was like fixing little things here and there to kind of get into, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't know how to do maintenance, you know, but it was one of those things where like I wanted to look and feel like I was a heterosexual man who was going through PTSD. And we see it in movies all the time, and it's always like this erratic maniac episode, but nobody talks about the silence. Nobody talks about what happens behind closed doors, and that's what I wanted to do with Andrew. And I hope I did it justice.
I think you did.
I
think
you did too.
We would be remiss if, I know at one of the early episodes, you actually dedicate the episode to your friend and late actor, Jonathan Macedo, who he was originally cast as the character of Ian, who's now portrayed by Emmanuel Lopez. What can you tell us about your friend Jonathan for his memory to remain a blessing?
I think the thing that was more tragic for me is that he came out here to be an actor. He didn't get the chance to perform, other than back in Texas, wherever where he's from. But he never actually got a chance to fulfill at least one of his dreams, which was to act. And when it happened, I actually took a break. I took like I would say about a 2-year break, which is why now I feel like I'm coming back and it all feels so new to me. I have 2 films coming out and I have the series and I have a podcast. So in those 2 years when I didn't know what I wanted to do, I kind of took reign of my life, and that's when I met my husband now. And in a way, his passing changed my life completely. It became this thing where, like, if I can't fix, remote control dies and you just change the batteries, but you can't do that to a person, right? So it made me fear that I would die anytime. So his passing, I think because the most tragic thing was that he didn't get to fulfill, be on screen like he wanted to. And to honor his memory, one of my films, Union Station, which comes to streaming soon, and the series is dedicated to him. So that's I hope that his memory will live on with these 2 projects that are so close to my heart.
Definitely will. They definitely will. Well, just to switch gears just a little bit, for me, this is like the perfect, Strangelove is the perfect Latinx mix of like Insecure or Queer as Folk. We talked a little bit about where some of the content came from, but what were some of your inspirations for the show?
It's hard because there's really nothing out there like it. And I mean that.
I agree.
Humbly, again, I started doing film 10 years ago. Literally last month was 10 years ago, and I started with an iPhone and a dream and ambition and passion. And I remember hearing a professor, because when I was in law school, saying, if you ever write what you know. And then I heard it again when I took a production class, as a writer, write what you know. So for the last, I would say 7 years, I did 7 films about women, because I grew up with a mom and 2 sisters, and even my production company has been about empowering women's voices. So every year I would get asked, when are you going to do a queer project? When are you going to do a queer project? And it always came down to, I don't know, because, I don't know if there's a type of right queer person, but I myself would never put myself in queer situations. I'm even surprised that I'm married, because I went up to my husband, like something that I would never do, and told him how much I love his eyes, and things like that. I would never flirt. I wouldn't I would date, but I wouldn't really be so out there. So this series is 100% my experiences, which I hope people could not only relate, but also maybe those who don't relate can feel that there is other type of queer people out there like us, like Latinos, And I guess if I had to pick an inspiration, it would definitely be Insecure. I mean, Insecure was a show that when I watched it, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing, Yeah. But even then, when you watch Strangelove, some people were criticizing it. They were saying it's low budget because of the camera framing. And I said, no, I specifically left long shots without coverage because I'm also a film director and it tells a story. Some people understood it, some didn't. I did it a lot with David and Gabriel, how they're it's the couple that's always having friction, and I always have them in a 2 shot. I never have them separate until the very end when that separation comes. So a lot of inspiration is from my life and from film directors that I love, like John Cassavetes, Darren Aronofsky, David Fincher, Guillermo del Toro, directors that really feel my passion. And I hope that this just opens the door for more queer and Latino shows, because they're very needed right now.
Yes.
Yes, I mean, studies show that there was just a recent one that says that, more and more people want to see our faces on screen, and we have so many varied stories to tell. We're not a monolith, which is really great. You do this. You cover so many topics on the 6 episodes, but we would be remiss, we're a sex podcast, if we didn't ask you about all the hot sex that's in every single episode. I mean, sometimes it starts with it. It is no holds barred. I love it. It's really real and raw. What was it like either writing those scenes, directing those actors? How did the actors respond to it? I mean, I know in general, actors are actors and they just do it, but we don't see a lot of queer sex on screen. What do you say to that?
Well, it was very clear from the beginning when we had our first table read. Because that's the thing, I didn't do auditions. I invited actors that I had seen their work, and some of them that were referred to me from other actors, my husband and other actors in the show, and it was very clear from the beginning that I said, look, this is a queer show. I want to make sure that people understand that the sex is not always just passionate. It's sometimes dirty, it's sometimes messy, it could be really difficult, it could be easy for others. And I said, I need everybody to feel comfortable, because we're gonna go for it. I want people to watch this, and I want them to ask me, was this real? And I gladly would tell them, no, it wasn't real sex. But that's the beauty of art, of cinema.
Yes.
And I wanted that. And there was a couple there was a couple instances where 2 actors felt a little nervous, but it was all about making them feel comfortable. Particularly letting them know that this is you, like, this is on your own terms. Ultimately, if something wasn't flying for anybody, we weren't going to do it, because I'm a huge believer that if I won't do it, I'm not going to make you do it. So I wanted them to feel comfortable. And at the end, we all talk about it, and we talk about how actually fun it was, and how more difficult it is to shoot them in terms of technicality, because the sex scene, you have to choreograph it. It's not like you have to talk about, can I touch you here? Can I do this? Can I do that? You literally talk about it. So for our viewers who are enjoying the view, just know that it's a very technical process shooting a sex scene. And I loved every single moment of it, because to be able to do something that's sensual, but it's not raunchy or raunchy. I mean, that makes me feel proud. I think I'd like to think that I did a good job in that sense.
You definitely did a fantastic job. Episode 2, the beginning of that, got me all hot and bothered. Go watch it. Right here
in my apartment.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh,
in our couch.
We
shot it in my
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really curious about how you rode the line of keeping it sexy and sensual and still maintaining like the PG type rating, because it was very hot.
In terms of the sex scenes?
Yeah, in terms of the sex scenes.
I think it was just more about, again, it was all the choreography to it, One of my favorite sex scenes from the show is actually the very last one between Ian and Christian. I think, and even the music choice that we selected for it, and what happens, the little conversation they have as they're engaging in the act. I thought it was really beautiful, because the camera is moving towards them, and you can see their bodies are finally like conjoined, like they're joined together, as opposed to like the first time in the second time in the kitchen, the first time here. And it came down to the choreography of it, and the actors will tell you, there was moments where I had to stop him and I say, well, listen, when you engage in this type of position, do you do it this way? No. How do you do it? This exactly. I was like, because now you just look like, that those inflatables outside the dealers like this.
Yes.
And you don't want it to look like that, because it's fake. And same thing with the one in the couch in the second episode. I said, I've experienced this before. I was like, and you have to really go through this. And I hope I'm not frozen. Did I get frozen?
No.
No, you're fabulous.
I got frozen here, but that's okay, as long as you can see me and hear me. It was just one of those things where I've experienced it myself before, and I said, well, these are the things that go through your mind, and this is how you would move your body, I think, right? So it's just about it was mostly choreographing it and just allowing the actors to be who they are, beautiful, color skinned human beings, and let
Uh-oh.
Oh,
Yeah,
are you there?
I'm here. Are you?
I'm here too. We had him and then we just lost him there for a second.
Technical
Hopefully,
difficulties. I hope we can come
exactly,
back
because
to
I
him.
had some more questions I wanted to ask him.
I have more too.
Is there a way we can bring him out and in? Because I'd love to keep this.
If we, he would have to. I think he has to refresh, or maybe it'll come back like it did last time when we were doing the AV check.
Should he refresh? Should I text him and then we can?
Yeah, let him know he's frozen. He might not know yet.
Let me just tell him he's frozen.
Sorry, everybody, for the technical difficulties.
Yeah, you're frozen, but refresh. Because I would loved it.
Yeah,
And then
really
maybe
good.
he'll. Yeah. The show is really good, though, I have to say. And what I was going to say while he's doing this is he covers so many topics in 6 episodes. Obviously, friendship, relationship, tops and bottoms, the inequities of wealth that can happen within a relationship.
That part,
that part,
I was in it.
Yeah, because that can happen.
I was feeling it.
He says, my computer froze. Should we pull him out and pull him back in?
I can. I can remove him from the stage, but if we ban him, then we can't.
We're not banning him.
Yeah, no, but I mean, like, the only other way would be to do that.
Did you do that, or did he do that?
I removed him from the stage. Yes.
Okay, and can we invite him back up?
Yes.
Yeah. But so many other things that he talked. That inequities, though, is kind of a biggie one that we talk about. DL is another big issue that comes out in this show that's really kind of big on the down low. Transitioning, having a parent that is was your dad that turns out to be, I don't want to give away too much. And
yeah. I haven't watched the whole thing. Don't give away too much.
I'm not giving away anymore. Jorge, are you there?
I'm here. You hear me?
Yes, we
can hear you,
but we can hear you.
I don't know if you can see me. I don't know what happened. My computer died, like literally turned off on me, and like my desktop, and now I'm on my laptop, and I don't know why it's not showing. I don't know if you guys can see me.
That's okay. We can't see you, but we can just wrap it up. We just wanted to, I guess one of the final questions that I wanted to ask is, and I was just saying it, is you cover so many amazing topics from down low to the inequities of wealth, immigration, obviously friendships, there you are, and rape are just a few that you jam into this series. 2 questions. Will there be a season 2? And number 1, why did you call it Strangelove?
So, I do hope there will be a second season. I will say this: the first episode for season 2 has already started being written. So, I am hoping that there is. If there is, I would like to bring writers to this season, just because the industry talks so much about diversity and inclusion, but nobody really does anything about it, and I'm all about it. Like. 80% of my crew was queer, and if I want to create opportunities, I think it's important that if we have a second season, new writers need to come in. And we need to create a whole new season. Especially because one of my favorite characters in the series is played by Maria, who is Isabel, the mom who we learned that she's trans at the end, and I would like second season to unpack all of that. And her love life. So it's important for me to bring a trans writer, a Black writer. I want to bring people of other ethnicities to be part of this experience. So yes, I'm hoping that there is a second season. I will say though, we are shooting a different series in February called The Things We Bury, and it's a queer thriller. So we'll have.
Oh my goodness!
Can't wait for that. I love a thriller.
Yeah.
Jorge, you got to keep in contact with us, keep us posted, because we will have you back for sure. And
yes.
we just love you, and I love this show that you put forth that is really inclusive and showing. Yes, it's amazing, and everybody should watch Strangelove. It's currently on YouTube. All 6 episodes are all neatly packaged up there for you. What can you tell us? How can we follow you? How can we follow the show?
So you can find the show at Strangelove TV, literally on any platform, Strangelove TV. And you did ask me why I named it Strangelove, because I think that love is strange. I think love is strange. I think that you need more than love to make things work in general in any kind of relationship, whether it be romantic, platonic, or friendship. And until you figure out that it's okay that for love to be strange, then you'll be able to grow it. That's what I think. That's always been my thing. So that's why I named it Strangelove. Also because Depeche Mode is my favorite band and my favorite song is Strangelove. And I thought,
Strangelove, yes.
I was like,
Don't get Kodi singing because he will.
You can find it on at Strangelove TV, and we just launched our website yesterday, strangeloveseries.com. So just go. You can even Google it. I won't tell you my social medias because it's too difficult, but you'll find me through Strangelove. It'll be easy to find me.
We will list it on show notes, and this show gets repackaged tomorrow, so look out for that. But we will list all those listings. Thank you so much, Jorge.
Thank you. Yeah. You are amazing.
Yes,
thank
absolutely.
You guys are amazing too. Thank you for having me and thinking of me and watching our series.
Our pleasure.
It means a lot.
Keep in contact, okay?
I will.
Okay. Sure. Thank you so much. All right. Bye.
Bye, boo.
Oh, nice. I think we can. Fabulous. Oh my gosh, so good.
That was fun. He's so adorable.
Adorable, and I just love it. So
and
good.
Sweet and brilliant. Because the show is amazing.
Yes.
Don't ruin any more for me, Steve. Please.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I know. I was.
No, it's fine.
Exactly. So, oh my gosh. Okay, well, let's get into. Okay, I wanted to talk about this next hot topic because it spoke to me. It is me, and it comes from Jake Shears of Scissor Sisters. You know Jake Shears, right?
Oh,
he was recently on a podcast and an interview and was talking about cruising and having trouble meeting guys, quote unquote. I'm not great on the apps. Don't I always say that? he was.
I thought it was you. Yeah, I was like, where is my friend?
Yeah. He's been living in London, but spending more time here in New York recently over the last year. He said that in the UK, he says, I don't feel like men check each other out here. The 45-year-old said on All Out with John Dean podcast. There's not a lot of just flirting with guys here at all. There's no acknowledgement of one another, even if you're going to the same gym every day. I would argue, though, Kodi, in my gym that I just joined, because forever I worked out in mine here in my building, that everybody is kind of robotic and not really looking at each other, and everyone's like in between sets, they're just down looking at their phone. And I mean,
really?
Yeah. I mean, I'm fine because I'm not trying to like get anyone's attention right now. I have a boyfriend, so I'm good. But I don't know. It's just, I think that's kind of the current, it's not the old days where we didn't have phones and people would just be talking to everybody. I mean, if you see somebody you know, then I think people talk, but that's my experience. He added that I feel in other cities, he says that New York and LA, people definitely acknowledge each other a little bit more, talk to each other, check each other out, flirt, cruise, but he doesn't see it much in the UK. And he says that he elaborated saying that it's hard to get a date for him because he doesn't do well swiping right or left on the apps. This is where he says he barely uses them. He says he prefers meeting guys in real life. And on top of not finding guys interested in making eye contact, he referenced how his recent closure, like there's a lot of queer nightclubs closing and such. I totally agree with him that it's not easy anymore to meet people. And if you're not of the app persuasion like I wasn't, it's not easy. And I would just say the gym isn't easy for me either, like for the reasons I listed, but I just started going out by myself a lot more. And not just to bars, but to like daytime events that are gay friendly. And you just
Mhm.
got to start talking to people. I feel like talk, just really put yourself out there. And if you're of the persuasion like Jake and myself, do you like that? And Jake and myself, like,
Oh my gosh, Steve and Jake sitting in a tree. I love it.
I
I
mean,
do think I think that Jake Shears would totally clean up on the apps first and foremost because hello, he's a hot man. But I do see what he's saying, and I agree with him to a certain extent. I feel like the apps have really taken over as far as flirting is concerned. Two people can be in the same bar and not even talk to each other, but they'll see each other on the apps and they'll start to communicate on the apps before they communicate in person. That is a thing. I've seen it happen before. Personally, I'm good with flirting in person and with flirting on the apps. In the gym, I have found that I am good at making the eyes at somebody, perhaps, and not necessarily even really talking to somebody because I feel like flirting can be a lot more things than just talking to somebody, and it can just be that making the eyes at somebody. So I see what he's saying, and I think that it is something that maybe we should address because I think that it's taking a lot of the personability in dating out. So yeah.
I agree. I mean, I think he has a point, but ultimately, I think people will find each other. I totally agree with Jake, but I ended up just finding somebody. It's like when you least expect it. And I've said before, I just went up to my boyfriend, who now is my boyfriend, and just started chatting with him and finding a common ground. And I was persistent on it. And it ultimately worked out. But, you know, sometimes it takes like a magical wand at times and persistence, and you have to kind of stick with one thing. You have to, I was telling a friend of yours recently that she's my friend too, but that, you know, you have to kind of like go out and put yourself at bars and just kind of really talk to people. And she was telling me that she's not comfortable talking to strangers. And I'm like, well, you got to get over that. You got to start talking. Like,
Yeah.
I talk to everybody. My sister was walking with me and I'm just like, hi, how's this? How's that? How was your trip to Europe? I mean, I'm just, yeah, you just put myself out there.
Yeah.
And I just think, if nothing else, you just connect with people. It's lovely. But you can also then connect with a potential partner.
Yeah. And it's maybe you don't put so much pressure on it. You just go out and see who's
Right.
out
Oh,
there
yeah.
and something organic can happen. And that is probably the loveliest thing.
Right. Not
Just so you
necessarily
know.
like I'm talking
Oh
to
yeah.
like neighbors, and yeah, you're right. It doesn't have to, you're putting yourself out there in general for
Yeah.
a general connection to people. If that happens to be somebody that you're romantically potentially interested in as well, that's just icing on the cake. But yeah,
Exactly.
definitely.
And just so you know, that friend did listen to your advice and we're gonna go out soon. So you're more than invited.
Okay, great.
She's
I love
already
it.
told me that we have to be the wingmen. So get ready.
Really?
Okay.
Oh, she
Yeah.
did. Oh, I'm glad.
Yeah.
By the way, this friend we're talking about is like gorgeous and a model,
Gorgeous.
but
She does not
I
have any
mean,
issues.
sometimes, yeah. So, okay, well, it's time to give some advice. I think we have time for one here. What did you have one in particular you wanted to do?
I love them all. So I think I'm down for all of them.
Okay. It was a question for those in open relationships, and open relationships are discussed regularly here on this, well, in this Reddit thread. But as someone who is quite insecure, though not in an open relationship, how do you reconcile allowing a partner their freedom while trying to make peace with the fact that you weren't or aren't enough? I was struck by something RuPaul said in an interview, which was, if you love someone that much, why wouldn't you allow them to do things? And that's just got me wondering. It's a great question about relationships. And I think the thing about their allowing their partner their freedom, I was struck by something RuPaul's, it was, let me just read this really quickly. allowing a partner their freedom. I think it's an interesting one because open relationships, I'm currently, sometimes we've talked about this in my own relationship too. And I think the key is you have to be always communicating that much more if you're going to go down that road. And you always have to work on your own relationship and the sex of your own relationship first and foremost. In other words, you don't want to give all of that up and say, yeah, we're open and free, and not have a plan for your own relationship. Sex should be primary focus in your relationship. Communication should be primary focus in your relationship. And I believe talking about the open relationship is key. Now, we've talked about this before, Kodi. You want to over talk the relationship and play by play it, but each and every relationship will have their own. But don't be scared. I mean, I think, use an old saying, I think it can happen, but it just means there's going to need to be that much more communication, and you're going to have to really work on, don't forget about your own sex between you and your partner. What do you say?
Well, I would recommend for anyone in an open relationship that it begins with trust at the very core, at the very basis of it. But the whole feeling like you're not enough, that should never, for me, if I was in an open relationship, which would never happen. I'm just not built that way. No, definitely not. I feel like I'm too jealous of a person personally, but that's just me. I'm open, if
but also I would challenge you on that too. I don't think that it means you're a jealous person. I just think you're a monogamous person, and so
maybe
it doesn't necessarily mean
I agree with that. Maybe I put a little bit of a negative connotation on it as well, because there are so many people out there that are in open relationships, and I feel like maybe I should be more open to it. But you're right.
But
maybe
I'm
just exactly. Maybe I'm just built for a monogamous relationship. So thank you very much for that little check. Thanks for checking me a little bit. I appreciate that. And so back to the question, I do think that trust is involved at the basis, but if they're questioning their worth in the relationship, I think that is the time for them to ask themselves if they're really cut out for this type of relationship, because I don't feel like that should be ever a factor to where you don't feel like you're enough for your partner. So I think now is the perfect time to take stock and see if you are actually interested in an open relationship. And if you're not, then that's okay. And maybe this is not the person for you. You should just move on and see what else is out there for you. But take this time to examine yourself and look inside, and then you can move on from there.
Yeah, I mean, you bring up some great points because it will and could potentially bring up insecurities. You have to really know the direction and what will the open relationship look like. I've had discussions with my boyfriend, and we've talked about the various ways that it could look like and what that would actually mean. And you have to. I think nobody should go into an open relationship willy-nilly without having very specific conversations about it, and just and always know that you can always go back too. If it doesn't work for one of you, you can have that. If you just keep in contact and communication, I think that's the key to a healthy, successful relationship on this matter, because it can bring up a lot of insecurities that you may not know you had. And and we live in a small community and people can talk, and so you don't want your relationship on display and all that stuff. So I mean, it can be done, but with a lot of extra communications in that department, and prioritizing your own sexuality with your partner and putting that first and foremost, I think, is key.
I agree with you. I totally agree.
Oh my gosh, so much fun. And a huge thank you to our special guest, Jorge Xolalpa, for joining the show for his show, Strangelove. We just highly recommend it. We will list everything on show notes. You can always follow my co-host Kodi. He's has his own Instagram at Mr. Maurice. But you've got an EP out that you're trying to get out, and you want to raise some funds to get it to that next level. What can you share with us?
I have a Indiegogo. It is Kodi Maurice EP. It's in my link tree. It's in TAGSPodcast notes, and just go look for it. Help a brother out. And yeah, if you don't have the coins, then it's totally okay. But if you can help me out, I would really appreciate it.
Love it. You can always follow me on the gram. I am _Steve V. I am _Steve V. Go to my Twitter account at TAGSPodcast, where you get a preview of my Just for Fans or my OnlyFans, and new content coming out next week because I'm back and I'm excited to share with you all. You can always support this show by supporting our Patreon page. We have free content, so just go over there and just join. But if you want to support us and get extra special sexy content like commercial free or bonus podcasts, go to patreon.com/TAGSPodcast. And in the meantime, continue having hot gay sex.
Sex.
Thank you, everyone.